In this video, I want to show you a way that I found to do conjoint analysis in-house without spending a lot of money. And the two tools I'm using for that is SurveyGizmo and a tool called Marketing Engineering for Excel. So it's a combination that I found to be quite useful. To use SurveyGizmo for conjoint analysis, what you need is the market research license, which is $1,500. I found it to be the cheapest out there. It's fairly reasonable, and it's a lot cheaper than any of the other tools that I saw in the market, which start at about $5,000 to $10,000. That said, SurveyGizmo's conjoint analysis is quite a young feature, so it's not as feature-rich as you might expect, and I ran into a couple of snags, but their support team has been very helpful, and I believe that they're on a good path of building out a really decent feature here. The second tool is called Marketing Engineering for Excel, or MEXL, and that's brought out by a company called DecisionPro. Their license is about a $500 license per year. What I used for my project, because I didn't know how often I'm going to be using this, is a 30-day license for $100. And they do also offer a free demo that's valid for 2 days. All right, so I set up a very easy short survey. It's only got 2 questions, and it basically has one segmentation question where I ask people about what buyer persona they are in my world. So are they a private user, a business with less than 20 employees, and a business with more than 20 employees? And by the way, this is not the real example that I used for my job, a different industry, but I wanted to just illustrate a point. The second question I'm asking is a conjoint question. So this is a special type that SurveyGizmo is offering as part of their question library. It's a new type. I'm going to go into the edit mode here. You're going to create a conjoint question where you define different product configurations. So in my case, I wanted to test for different brands, different features, and different price points. So here, the brand, I've got 3 things in here: Dropbox, Box.com, and My Storage Co., which is, for this example, my company. Then I'm looking at the feature. Here, the feature is related to security. So I have file storage with encryption, encryption with password recovery, and zero-knowledge encryption. And then the third attribute is the price. So here I'm testing out 3 price levels. Now, what SurveyGizmo does as part of this conjoint analysis is they give you a number of choices. I'm choosing 3 because it's kind of easy to understand. They give people 3 random choices, 3 random packages that somebody would consider buying. And the respondent basically has to say, I would pick this, this, or this package, or none of the above. So that's the basic setup, and they do this randomly, random packages for each question, for each respondent, and you can select how many rounds each respondent is supposed to do. So if we go into the question here, number of cards per set are 3, so that's 3 next to each other. Number of sets shown to each respondent, so that's how many rounds you go through. And then the other question is, do you want to do just a single choice? I choose 1 package, or do I want to also have the option that I don't buy any of them? And I would advise you to do that because it gives you more realistic results. If none of the options are palatable, then you don't want a preference associated with that. Okay, so let's back out of that. This is a test survey, so I didn't actually send this out to the world and have people answer. I just answered 4 different types of personas and kind of made up the questions as I went along. The number of responses I have in this survey are not anywhere near what you'd want for a proper, market-facing conjoint analysis. I have 18 responses here. If you'd like to read up a little bit more about how many responses you need for your conjoint analysis, I'd recommend you Google this page here. Just Google for SurveyGizmo conjoint sample size, and you'll find it. And when you go to the very bottom of the page, it's a little bit hidden. In the FAQ, it'll say, how many responses do I need? Open that, and you'll be able to put in your variables and then calculate, and you'll see what kind of responses you'll need for your conjoint analysis. Now we've run the survey, we've had people fill this in, and we want to have a look at the results. To analyze the conjoint results, you go to Export, you do Conjoint Raw Data Export. Select all the elements and save. SurveyGizmo also has a report that will give you the results of your conjoint analysis. I found that if you don't have enough data where they think it's not enough statistically, they won't even show you any results. When you record the part worths, you can do that in one of two ways. Either you can calculate the aggregate part worths, which means it's the overall part worths across all the respondents, or you can calculate the part worths by respondent. If you want to do a market simulation, which we'll do as part of this video, then you definitely don't want to use the aggregate ones, you want to use the part worths by respondent, and that's what we're going to do. So this is what the export looks like when you open it. Now we have to start organizing the data. This is the raw output. SurveyGizmo does have very long column names, so I'm going to fix those. So I'm going to go through each one here. So for example, the response ID, that's the ID of the respondent. So if you want to segment your survey and the conjoint data, you can do that later using the response ID. You just have to do a VLOOKUP to map the responses for other questions. The set number is basically what round the respondent was on. So these are the 3 cards plus none for the first round. Then the card number tells you which card on the screen was the product configuration. So in round 1, the first card in the set was brand My Storage Company with zero knowledge encryption for $120. And then the score, a score of 100 will tell you this is the option that the respondent picked. So now we're going to massage this data into a format that marketing engineering for Excel can interpret. We're going to assume that you have marketing engineering for Excel installed. So go to the Add-ins tab, choose MEXL, Conjoint, and create study design template. We're going to use the wizard here. And now you have to type in the 3 attributes. So in this case, that's going to be the brand, the feature or security as we called it here, and then price. I'm going to type that in and accelerate the recording. So now we have all the attributes, and in the next step we want to add the levels. So levels are the actual values that you have under the attributes. So things like box.com, Dropbox, and My Storage Co. What's important is that we want to add a level, another level called none. Because you remember in the question, the respondents had the choice to pick none of these options, none of these bundles would actually be worthwhile for them to buy. So when we do the market simulation, we want to have none as an option. Again, I'm going to fill these in and speed up the video. Okay, so we filled in all the levels and added none for each of the attributes. Okay, and we'd like to generate the data collection template now. You'll get a new spreadsheet. And now you'll be asked how the respondents provided the answer. In this case, we're going to pick ratings. And the number of respondents were 18. So this is our template, and we see that MEXL only provides us with up to 16 bundles here as part of the design. But we actually want to use all 27 designs because that's what SurveyGizmo collected. We'll go over to the SurveyGizmo results, massage them a little bit, and then take that information over to the screen. Before we prep the data for the table, we have to create a bundle ID, which SurveyGizmo does not include as part of its raw output. And the most efficient way I've found to do this is just to concatenate the 3 levels and just put an underscore in between. So the string we get here is my storage co 0 knowledge 120 for $120. And so that gives us a unique string for each bundle ID. And across all of the answers, we can now create a pivot table. So we'll select the entire table here, go to Insert Pivot Table. Okay. And now we will use the response ID in the row. We will use the bundle ID in the columns. It's going to create a lot of columns. And now the score we put in as the value. Now the default is that it's going to just count how many answers there are, but we actually want to add up all the values. And that's all we need for the next step when we copy that over to the other spreadsheet. So we're going to select this row here and go all the way to the right and select all of this here. Don't select blank and don't select the sums. Copy that. And now we're going to go back to the other window. And you paste that in here. So basically in this field. That should give you exactly what you need. Now the bundle names are going to be different. So I would advise you to just copy that and copy that up here. And now you also need to adjust each of the descriptions down here because those are no longer going to match up. So for example, here you want to you have box.com encryption with password recovery for 120. So box.com is correct. Encryption with password for 120. And then the next one is same but 300. The next one should be 60 probably. Yeah. And then we have the same order for no encryption. So box.com is going to repeat for 9 fields here in total. So no encryption. And these 3 values. And then 0 knowledge. Let's just do a quick check here for 60. And then the next one is going to be Dropbox. Copy that for 9 fields. And it just repeats for each of the brands. And then here I fill in none and none, and we're all set for the bundles. So as a next step, we want to calculate the part worths. So these will calculate for each respondent how much each of these levels is worth to them. And for that, we go back to the add-ins, MEXL, Conjoint, and estimate preference part worths. Choose ratings. We want to, this is pre-selected correctly, so we accept that. The next set of fields is also not going to be correctly identified, and we need to select all of the 28 bundles. And the next set of fields will also not be correct because we'll also need to go over all the way. This looks good. And now it creates a new sheet where it gives you the part worths by respondent, and then for each of the attribute levels. Now we're ready to do a market simulation. And a market simulation enables you to mimic the existing market plus additional products that you might introduce into the market and get a feel for what your market share would be. Now, conjoint analysis will not give you the market share. It will give you the so-called preference share. So just based on these attributes and levels, if you configured a certain product and added it to the market, all other things being equal, what would be your market share? Of course, the market share will also be influenced by things like your level of sales training and your reach in the market and who's carrying your products and all of those things, and product quality. So this will only be the market preference based on these input factors. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll go back into add-ins, MEXL, Conjoint, and now we'll create an analysis template. And we'll choose that with new product profiles because we have existing products and we want to try out new products. Next. And now we have to confirm a few fields again. These should all be fine. And now we'll create the existing products. So if I'm assuming that my company is My Storage Co. and I'm not in the market yet, I will first create these profiles, so box.com, and we will create those real quick. Security. Box.com has encryption with password recovery, and they are, let's say they're at around 300. So this is box.com pass recovery 300, and we'll add that to the list, and we'll do Dropbox, and let's just assume these are fictitious examples. So let's assume they have the same kind of encryption, but they offer it a little cheaper. For 120. What's important is to also add an option none, because that's a real option in the current market that customers can choose not to buy anything. So that's an important choice here. And add that to the list. And now you can create different types of products that you might want to simulate. Let's say you have a debate whether to offer a product with no encryption, but you offer it super cheap. So we add that to the list. And let's say you have another idea, which is to say you want to offer a product with zero knowledge encryption for the security conscious people out there, and you think that's going to be worth a lot more to them. So 0300. Add that to the list. And maybe you also have another idea to say, all right, we're going to offer a product with good security, but we're going to offer it for a reasonable price. So let's try this one, 0120. Adding that to the list and hitting OK. When we scroll down, we now see the existing market. People can choose either box.com, Dropbox, or nothing. And now we have 3 products that we want to offer in the market. So the next step is to go back to MEXL, Conjoint, and run the analysis. We're going to choose existing products with new product profiles from set, and the first choice rule. Make sure that the fields are correctly picked. This looks good. This I'll need to adjust. And this one looks good. Now it's going to create a new spreadsheet. This spreadsheet will show you in this row here what the market share would normally look like. So 47% choose no product, 25% for box.com, and 28% for Dropbox. If we offered the My Storage product without encryption for $60, we would get a market share of 19%. With this product, we would get a market share of 19% as well, but with actually a much higher dollar value. And then with a cheaper product, we would get a 31% market share. The market share here is probably not the kind of market share you're used to. First of all, it's a preference share. And second of all, it's a share in buying decisions, not dollars. So when you look at 19% of $300 per deal, and 31% of decisions at 120, then you should actually do the math. And in this case, the $300 is going to win out because you get more overall revenue, even though you have fewer people choosing your product. So that's really important to take into account. Also, you'll have pre-created graphics for the market without the new products, and then the markets with each different product mix. All right, that's the demonstration. And also check out the blog post that goes into a little bit more detail of why to do a conjoint analysis, where it can be helpful, and what other sources you can check out. Thank you for watching.